travelers, and welcome to a very special episode of Tales of Teyvat, a Genshin lore podcast. Today, we're hearing from you guys, our listeners and travel companions, to see what you wanted to hear from us about different lore, theories, things about us in the podcast, and a little bit in between in this very special mailbag episode of the podcast. I do want to just say before we hop into it that you can visit talesofteyvat.com to see some visual representations of the things we'll be talking about today during our podcast. We put them together just for fun because there's really not going to be too much lore mentioned, but for the lore mentioned, it will be there as well. So you can visit talesofteyvat.com to see all of that. Thank you to everyone who wrote into us. We were so excited when the very first email came through. We were like, oh my God, people actually have questions. So thank you all so much for writing in. We're really hoping that our answers live up to your expectations. And just so you all know, you can email us at talesofteyvatpod@gmail.com. If you have any further questions you'd like to hear, you'd like to send us something to have for a future mailbag episode, or you have some theories, lores, or topic ideas for us to have in the future. So that getting started, we have quite a few questions to go through today.
Woo!
Woo! So I'm going to start right off the bat with the first one. So this one says, hi, my name's Hannah, and I've been following you guys for a few months now.
Hi, Hannah.
Hi, Hannah.
Hey, Hannah.
Hi, Hannah.
It's like we're in AA. We're like, hi,
Yeah.
Hannah.
It's just AA, but for Genshin addicts. GA. Welcome to GA. Hi, Feeny. Hi, Tiff. Hi, Bees.
Hi, Al. I love what you guys are doing. The lore is so extensive, and you make it so easy to understand. Plus, your theories and banter are always so fun to listen to. I do have a question for you guys, though. Nothing serious. Just wondering, if you were the traveler, who would you want to have as your traveling companion?
That's a thought one. Because I think Paimon's a good little travel buddy. She is always explaining things to us. She is comic relief.
Yeah, definitely.
But if I needed somebody different, I would actually probably say Venti. One, because then I'd have a drinking buddy. But also because Venti knows everything. He's not telling us, but he knows everything. So he'd be able to steer me in the right direction.
I like that. So I actually have two picks, and they're kind of opposites. So the first one, I would say Kazuha, because he is very carefree. He loves to travel and wander. I feel like he would be really sort of inspiring to explore new things with, and he would have just a really nice, chill disposition. I would also feel safe because he's so powerful.
Right.
So he could just kill everything for me. And the flip side, the other choice, option number 2, I would say D-Luke. And that's because he's filthy rich. So everywhere we go would be, only the most luxurious of experiences. And if we get into any kind of trouble, he could just bribe his way out of it.
Not me thinking you were going to say D-Luke because he's just aggressive and protective. And you go, because he's rich.
I think we can all agree on that.
It took me a really long time to decide because I'm one, I was thinking of Yanfei because I'm gonna get into legal trouble. There is no doubt.
Al, that's definitely gonna happen.
Yep. And she'd also rap very well. And then I was like, I gotta have Ito in the gang. But then I was like, and this is all because I watched a stream of a certain voice actor. And I'm like, no, it's gonna be Kaveh because he's fucking delightful to listen to. He's so sassy.
You're going for the fun companion, just someone to keep you company and...
I want Paimon, but not floaty.
I do have a question about this question. Do our companions get to be little tiny versions of them?
Okay, if that's true, because here's the thing. I love the architecture and environments that we get to be in Genshin and in Teyvat. And just having a little tiny Kaveh on my shoulder and being like, oh my God, these flying buttresses. Amazing. Look at these mosaics. I love, and then there's an even tinier Marak. It's just beautiful.
Imagine a little tiny flying D-Luke, and he's angry and cranky about everything. That'd be so adorable.
It's a little one going, Retribution!
His voice is still the same. It's not high pitched. It's just that deep still in the tiny, tiny body.
I mean, Venti's so little, he kind of already is Paimon sized. So.
And he can float.
He would just be his wisp form.
Yeah. I think I prefer full form for the fighting aspects because Paimon's
Yeah.
not much help when it comes to fighting.
She doesn't fight. Someone called her out for that in the game recently. They were like, oh, I think it was Sarush, the Pari, was like, you didn't do
Yes.
anything, Paimon. I was like,
Mhm.
oh, called out.
Yeah, Paimon don't do shit. Which, I mean, if she did, then I would absolutely choose her because she is sassy.
So my initial answer to this question, like without thinking about it, was like, Albedo, because like, duh. And also like, he's a good travel companion. Like he's very smart. He can make stuff with his art, with the alchemy art. He can make me a chair with or without a back. Great.
Mhm.
Up to me. But then I was like, I don't know. Like I like Albedo and all, but maybe he would be the best travel companion. And then I was like thinking 3 while y'all were talking, and I was between Mika, Tinyari, and Kaya. But I think I would go with Kaya. Kaya, I just think is very smart. He's very charming, and he's a good fighter. And while he could charm and swoo me away, I think he'd be charming every time we enter like a new town, Like people would like him
Mhm.
right away. Like we wouldn't be like public enemy number 1 as soon as we get into town like we usually are.
He could sweet talk his way through things.
Yeah, he can sweet talk his way through things. He can heal himself, and that's like one less thing for me to be worried about. And he's like a good fighter, and I think he'd be fun. He'd be a drinking buddy. I think I'd have a good time with Kaya. And I'd feel like safe.
A very good time. I feel like you just got everyone that we picked and mushed them together. You got Venti's drinking, you got the sass from Kaveh, and the protection of D-Luke.
Yeah, I was really close, honestly, to saying Mika because of the whole like surveying and like he's been out traveling with Varka type of thing.
Who doesn't want to have such a cute chocobo buddy?
Yeah, but then I was like, but Kaya's cute.
Okay, when he cuts the rat tail off, when he cuts that off.
I just imagine there isn't a rat tail.
Yeah, that's
You should
true.
just cut it off in the night.
I don't look at his backside.
Well, that's good because there's nothing
yeah.
there.
I just wish they just like full out went super long hair for him. That would have been great.
All right. So I am going to move us on to our second question.
Thank you for the nice words, Hannah. Appreciate it.
Hannah.
Yes,
Thanks, Hannah. All right. Our next question comes from Chloe on Instagram. And Chloe said, I would love to hear your guys' opinions on / about Dorian, aka Suspedo. They said on an episode about Albedo too, which you might be getting that soon. They are currently writing a story on Wattpad about Suspedo and can use all the inspiration theories, tidbits about both Albedo and his imposter. Before we answer this question, I want to let all of our travelers know that we will actually be linking Chloe's story onto our website. It is amazing. I've been reading it ever since she sent the question in, and I very much have been enjoying it. So we will be linking that to anyone who wants to read. But Suspedo, Dorian.
Yeah, we are doing an episode on the Suspedo event, and it's coming up pretty soon. It should be episode 38. So you can look forward to that. We're also going to be possibly talking more about Albedo next season. But yeah, my opinion on the Suspedo stuff is just how terrifying. And they made it so ambiguous at the end that it's like, wait, is Albedo Suspedo now? Is Suspedo still sort of like inserting himself into things? And like, are they going to revisit this storyline? Because we know that the Suspedo is still out there somewhere. So I feel like we need some kind of sense of closure about this.
Yeah, I mean, they definitely made it seem like originally we were all like, oh, Joel's dad is Suspedo. But then very quickly you were like, wait, or is that Suspedo that meets us in Mondstadt?
Right.
And it is way too open-ended. And a lot of people are very like suspicious of Albedo now, which gets me so mad. I will say, I don't think Albedo has a true thought about Suspedo. Like personally, I think he might be worried about him hurting people around him. And I actually was talking to Tiff the other day about, I've been writing my story with Nat and Albedo are dating in it. And I've been like kind of trying to flesh out with Tiff what I'm going to do when it comes up to this like section of the story, because it's really hard. I'm surprised some of the characters don't have like albedo PTSD. But really, like Bennett, Ayula is really the one who gets like attacked by Suspedo / albedo, right?
Yeah.
Like I'm sure a lot of the people that should be trusting him, other knights, are a little cautious of him now, and I worry about that for him.
And that kind of leads into what while I don't necessarily believe this is going to be the truth in the actual canon Genshin, I think it would be an interesting take, though, is what if Albedo is actually in on it? What if he knows about Suspedo? And what if his whole thing is trying to get everybody to lead to Alice? And Alice is some big mastermind. Like, that would be really interesting. I don't think it's not going to be canon in Genshin, but it would be a cool perspective if this, like, pious, very kind of quaint boy is an evil genius.
No.
I mean, it kind of throws some validity to probably a theory that I'm going to share when we actually do the albedo episode. But of course, when we look at the name Dorian and Suspedo, I always think of the picture of Dorian Gray. And how the painting, though it's immaculate, beautiful, it shows the sins of Dorian. So what if albedo's kind of alter ego is Suspedo and is doing the dirty work for gold while our albedo is trying to do it honestly?
Also, how many Suspedos could there be? Like, maybe there's a bunch of them.
Exactly. There could be so many.
It's a gaggle of Suspedo.
It's sort of like Dottore and his segments, like wandering around, being able to change shape into other people. It's like you don't really know who might be secretly a Suspedo.
Albedo is just alpha, and then all the other ones are like...
Yeah.
We're also left very open-ended on the idea of how many there are, because on one end, we're told maybe at the very beginning of the Suspedo event that there's blood of a dragon on Dragonspine and that it makes things really weird. And that's why Dragonspine is so dangerous. Not because of the snow, not because it's steep, but because the blood of this dead dragon is making the enemies more difficult, harder to beat, making them have strange abilities. But on the other hand, we are also learning that Gold used to feed all of her failed experiments to Durin, the dead dragon on Dragonspine. So it really becomes a question of are there two things happening that could have caused Suspedo? Or are the strange powers given by the blood really just escaped experiments from the stomach of Durin? Because if you're made of alchemy, I'm going to assume being eaten by an alchemy-made dragon is not going to kill you either.
Yeah. We'd have to ask a Pep.
No, I don't want to ask a Pep anything.
I will. I'll do it. I love it.
Apparently, you guys already have signed my soul away to a Pep, so...
Mhm.
I did. Already a contract.
Yep.
Mark signed it too, so...
No, I will say my last thought on it, and this is obviously a very personal thought, just because I do love Albedo so much, but I do think something's going to happen to Albedo. I don't know what it is. I do think Suspedo is going to be back somehow. Albedo does give that whole garden analogy at the end, which makes me very worried. I think the fact that Joel has a dad all of a sudden, when we're 98% positive he's dead, is very concerning. And it makes me wonder if Durin is being brought back to life, if Suspedo was doing sacrificing or something to bring the brother back. There's a lot of thoughts around it, and it's really unfortunate that it's a locked event, as so many people have told us, and we agree. I have heard rumor that special events might be staying, some of them, but I think it's more endgame content stuff.
Aww.
And look at me understanding what that means. But I do hope they bring it back, or I hope that the lore is mentioned as we learn more about the Hexen Circle and get to see more from Golden Alice.
I also think it would be cool, just from a storytelling perspective, if Suspedo got some kind of redemption story, maybe. If Suspedo is going to come back or stick around, it'd be interesting to look into the development of Suspedo's humanity and them sort of becoming a real person, and the moral ambiguity, exploring that. And actually, the more human Suspedo becomes, maybe they start feeling, guilty or a sense of shame, or, maybe they end up helping Albedo with something.
Also, on that note, too, 2 could be like a showcasing of how Albedo could have become a villain. I don't think they're going to make him a villain, but if you think about it, they're both like experiments made by Gold, and one went kind of an evil route and the other one didn't.
There's still time.
No. No.
Yeah.
So I think it's also like a cool comparison, kind of that mirroring that we've been talking about ever since the desert episode, I feel, mirroring the things in the world. So, you know, being able to show two halves of one set coin, right? Like, was that the phrase? I don't know. But thank you, Chloe.
Thanks, Chloe.
Thanks, Chloe.
Thank you, Chloe.
And thank you for sharing your work with us too. We're loving it. All right. Our next question comes from Chuki on Twitter. Who do each of you think are the underrated characters in the world of Teyvat? This can be either NPCs or playable main characters, and it can relate to lore or gameplay mechanics, whichever you prefer.
So many. So for me, combat-wise, I think the underrated characters are Official, Mona, Xingqiu, and Toma. I use those characters all the time, especially in Spiral Abyss, and they're all excellent. And for personality, I'm going to say Cloud Retainer because she's hilarious. Moon Carver because he's dreamy. I'm going to say Anna because she has such an inspiring story of like, she was so sick for so long and now she's like going out and adventuring. You know, she's the person in Mondstadt who you get daily commissions from to like help her with the transport balloon. And she's just really having like a journey and like becoming like this new improved version of herself. And then also little baby Isaac and Sumeru, you know, the little boy who does drag.
Yes! Our Nahida drag.
The Nahida drag.
So those are mine.
I think from an NPC side of things, Neko, kind of the same reason I think why B chose Cloud Retainer. Neko is the little cat that runs the Asace shrine right off the side of one of the islands in Inazuma. And it's the island full of all the kitties. And I find her hilarious. She's just so sassy and so like, I don't know, there's a cat, there's wood over here, this guy's building a shrine, whatever. And I love her.
Feed me. Then she's like, give me fish.
And then like, you have to take a picture with her and she's like, oh, that's not my good side.
Oh, yeah.
She's so cute.
Very sassy.
Yeah. And I would say for a combat side of things, for like an actual like playable character, would be Barbara. Barbara's a fantastic healer. Nobody disputes that, but she's actually kick-ass. Like you can really make her a really great part of your team, especially with the Dendro combinations. And I think people sleep on Babs for that.
Right. That's good. That's a good point. I think for NPC, it can literally be any of the characters we've said in the past that deserve a vision. We've said so many times that like Jet, Rana, also Grace, the blind girl over in Mondstadt. So I think all of them have so much opportunity to grow. I think it's even some of our unforeseen characters, as Alice. Although I don't think Alice is necessarily underrated. For playable characters, I'm going to continue to sound biased, and I'm fine with that. I really do think underrated characters in the game are Tighnari and Albedo.
Oh, are you talking about the characters that were just in all of the last events?
Yeah.
Okay, just checking.
I'm talking combat-wise, though.
Okay. Sorry, I had to jump on the opportunity.
Well, okay. Well, let's talk about that real quick. So, Tighnari. So for Tighnari, I think Tighnari is underrated on both ends. Lore-wise, story-wise, and play mechanic style. I know I keep focusing on the fact that he was struck by a lightning bolt. But to be completely honest, like Tighnari was first off investigated by Sino, which is so scary. He takes in Kale without a second thought, has never met the girl before, has never raised a child before, takes in this girl, raises her, literally became a dad overnight, and has to deal with not only like helping her through schooling and helping her become a forest ranger, but also helping her through her Elazar, which we see very briefly in game is really affecting her. On another side note, Tighnari is a genius, basically. He's an amazing botanist and healer, even though he can't heal in the game for whatever reason. Hoyo didn't want to give that to me. He is empathetic, yet sassy, as we could see with Karkata. And then he's now dealing with the evil sages of Sumeru in his forest. And he went face to face with Dodore. And I don't know, I think story-wise, there's a lot that could go down there. And I think even though Tighnari's been involved in a lot of the last events, I don't think he's definitely been a focus of those events. I think that, Windbloom was more about Kale. Both the last Sumeru events were really Kaveh and then Sino. So I do think that he's plot-wise underrated, not Albedo. We all know Albedo's important to the goddamn plot, which is so frustrating because I don't want him to die. But combat-wise, I do think Albedo is underrated. He is a great character. He's a 5-star, but people really hate on Geo, and I get it. It's hard. But there's a lot of different ways to level him up. I don't even have a defense build on him anymore. I gave up on that. I have Mistsplitter on him, right? That's the name of the titty sword.
Yes, it is Mistsplitter.
Okay, cool. I just wanted to make sure. I have like a DPS build on him. He's got like, what was it? Like a 2-something crit damage. So like he hits 40k in the Spiral Abyss most of the time. And then Tinyari, I hate the fact that you cannot get a solid hit down with him measurement wise because he sends out so many different arrows at once, even in his burst. But I think my Tinyari's doing like not his like major elemental, but his second elemental, because we all know I don't know the name of any game mechanics. Like when he throws the little ball of like Dendro out, sometimes that does almost 20k for me, but no one's ever talking about it. No one ever wants to like build him, and I think it's because he's like the free Dendro 5-star. People don't think about it that way.
Thank you for your thesis.
I know. I have a lot to say.
Oh no.
I'm sorry, Al. Sorry, Al.
Like I chose one character for both because Noelle, the NPC of the knights, our poor sweet girl. Because Noelle wants to be a knight and isn't a knight. And here's the thing. You put the Red Horn Thresher on this girl, and she has some of the best fucking hits you have ever seen. If you're not building your Noelle, don't even build her for shield. I mean, she's great for shield, but if you've built her as a main DPS, like I shit you not, you will be very impressed. And also, how could they disrespect my girl? I say this just because it's for Mori, but legitimately though, Noelle is completely underrated because half the time I'm like, oh wait, Noelle. Oh yeah, no, the person who's not a knight but is a knight but is also an NPC and a maid, technically.
Yeah.
So it's like we never get to see her shine.
Yeah, I feel like when the whole game implodes, she'll finally get her moment to shine and then she'll die.
Oh my god.
Oh my god.
And then she'll die.
Just,
It's the truth. Don't deny
She'll
it.
be like posthumously made a knight.
I'm so upset with you right now, Feeny. How dare you curse Noelle to die?
I'm going to be really insulted if Ellen becomes a knight before her.
Will agree. The amount of times I've had to fucking do that quest, no.
Also, I want to add one more. I'm sorry, you made me think of it out. Adeline in the Dawn Winery. She's got stuff going on.
Yeah, she's pretty amazing.
I think she's in the secret society of spies that Diluc's in.
Like so many others that we talk about.
But thank you, Chuki, for your question.
Chuki.
Thank you, Chuki.
Thank you, Chooks.
So this question comes from Fia on YouTube, and it's more of like some additional lore, which I think was awesome. They said, really digging the podcast. Awesome to see more content on Alice, my favorite character in the game, along with Yoimiya. They said, just to add a little bit in regards to the KFC wing story, when Alice says that humans, quote unquote, ate dragons, she's not talking about Teyvat humans. She's talking about us in this world. This gets very meta. It's very scary. Alice is telling a bedtime story of sorts to Klee, and she describes how the world from which the glider comes from, that being the KFC wing glider for those who may have forgotten about it. But the world from which the glider comes from used to be ruled by large creatures that looked like a mix of a chicken and a lizard. Some of these creatures lived in the sea and some on land. Then Alice goes on to mention that she doesn't know how humans came to be, and that perhaps they came from those meteors. So it seems like she's actually describing the dinosaurs, how they were wiped out, and how their ancestors, chickens, are now eaten by us here on Earth at KFC.
I just love
so
it.
funny.
I love it. I love it so much.
This just proves that Alice absolutely is a descender and is from our world. How else is anyone else going to know about dinosaurs?
Yeah, how is she? I mean, I think she's a trailblazer. For anyone who plays Honkai Star Rail,
Womp, womp, womp.
the main characters of that game are able to sort of jump between different worlds via space. And it just sounds a lot like Alice has gone to all kinds of different worlds, especially our world.
Mhm.
I mean, also remember when she had the Idols magazine?
Yeah.
And Barbara's
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
what is this?
It's just
Yeah.
17.
It just kind of solidifies that idea that she came to our world.
We'll know if Alice gives Clea like a pom-pom stuffed animal or something.
She also is very familiar with Aloy and her story, and Aloy comes, from a fictional version of our world in the future.
Do you think if Alice can traverse worlds and has been here, that she can decide where in time she can be here on our Earth?
Good question.
Because like Horizons takes place like in the distant future, right?
Yes.
But Teyvat Idol, an American Idol, depending on like, the heyday of American Idol was the early 2000s. Like,
Yeah, I would say like 05. Is that when Kelly Clarkson won? Can't remember.
I don't know, but I love Kelly. I love her Wayfair commercials. But yeah, I would be curious to know if they can travel through time too. Got questions, especially since there's so
Yeah.
much time loop stuff.
I'm just gonna assume she's only able to go contemporary and learned about dinosaurs at a museum.
Oh my god, imagine she's just at the Museum of Natural History in New York one day, and you're like, who are you?
And then you just see Clea in a trash can. And it's like, that's who's leaving all the messages!
For travelers that don't know, in Honkai Star Rail, the trash talks to you.
You can talk to the trash, but all I have to do is talk aloud to myself.
No. Thanks, Fia, for the thoughts.
Thanks, Fia.
you, Fia.
Love the KFC.
Go eat some dinosaurs!
I feel like we should all have like fried chicken of sorts now, but I don't really want it right now.
Chicken and waffles, let's go!
All right. Our next question comes from Nacho via email. Nacho said, "Hello there, dear host of Tales of Teyvat. I'm Nacho, and I'm here to share my theory on why I believe Kari Bear is Kaya. I'm not gonna read all of the lore, but they do go into an assumption here that Kaya is Kari Bear, and my co-hosts and I, we've all read through the entire plot, so just some key points. They mention how both Clothar and Kaya share the same last name of Alberich. They say that if Kaya is truly Kari Bear, it would make sense as to why Kaya was dropped in Mondstadt instead of any of the other nations, as Kari Bear's mother was from Mondstadt, which made Kari Bear a half-blood. Clothar also has a new motivation to cure the curse now that the sinner helped Kari Bear regain clarity. So there's a chance that Clothar entrusted Kaya as a subordinate, and that's why he like dropped Kaya off and was like, our fate is in your hands, when he left him at the Dawn Winery. Of course, they wanted to make note about how this ties in with Diluc and Mondstadt and the Ragnander family. He said this has to do with Diluc's mother, who is in the Hexen Circle possibly. They're really deep diving into that theory. We've talked about it a little bit in our Diluc episode, actually. They also said that if you see it from Clothar's point of view, he wants his son to be somewhere safe, preferably with a big influence to spread the word of the sinner. So it would make sense to leave them with, the moguls of Mondstadt, the Dawn Winery. If Clothar knew that Diluc's mother was a part of the Hexen Circle, it would also make sense for him to drop Kaya off there instead of like the Lawrence clan or the Favonius Church, because then there might be some extra magic and power that Kaya could discover. And it's the Ragnar's people with prosperity, yet not being tainted by godhood or even the curse. So there's a lot more to it though, but
I gotta say, Nacho, I read through all of your ideas and I think they're really solid. I think this is a really valid theory, and I know some people disagree, I'm open to it being true or not, but just as far as a theory goes, like the way you backed all of the evidence up and tied it all together was very well done. So I enjoyed this theory a lot.
Agreed. Very well done. I agree with B. It's very valid in the fact that we have multiple questions of Kaya that would be solved if he was Kari Bear. And then the unfortunate part is we don't know how young or how much older Kaya was when he was dropped off in Mondstadt. We don't have a definitive age, I don't think. We have a rough timeline, which Kari Bear could absolutely fit into. For me, it only sticks because we are so unsure of Kaya's very early life. Who's his parents, for sure. And also, when we go back to like the most recent Mondstadt event, where at the very end cutscene, Kaya is looking over at the Dawn Winery and we hear his father's voice in his head, and it's very much not Kari Bear's dad.
Yeah.
So it's very valid. I think there's just missing pieces that make it like, I'm not fully on board, but it's really good. We just need those extra small pieces to fit.
Yeah, it's definitely a great theory. You would have had me completely if Kaya had the cloth on his arm. Then I would have been like, oh yeah, it's definitely Kaya. But I do believe that he's going to be related. Like maybe he's Kari Bear's like grandson or something. But I'm not sure if like the timelines jive and things like that. But fantastic theory though.
Yeah, you really gathered a lot of great lore pieces and put a lot into perspective. I would agree with Alan Tiff. For me, I think that Kaya is like the great like grandson of Clothar / Kari Bear. I think that what happened was so long ago, and if the curse was ended on Kari Bear wouldn't be able to live forever, which means that Kaya also wouldn't be able to have like this very long lifespan. I also think the fact that Kaya is so surprised when he finds out that the Alberich name is from the creator of the Abyss Order. Like, he's shocked when Dainsleif says that. And I think that Clothar be like, yo, look what I did. Like, he'd be too impressed with himself and too excited and happy and really trying to push everything onto Kaya, I think. So the fact that Kaya has no idea, I just think kind of X-nays that theory. And on top of that, just, you know, what Al mentioned about the event and him hearing that voice in his head, it's clearly not Krapus, but it's also not Clothar. Of course, we only know Kari Bear's voice as a kid, so I can't say whether or not Kaya is like Kari Bear's son, but I don't think Kaya's Kari Bear. I think that was a thought we all had, though, going through that quest line.
Oh, 100%. The moment things unraveled, I was like, he's Kaya. Like, I jumped right into it.
But awesome thoughts, Nacho, honestly. And thank you so much for writing in and sharing them with us.
Please send us more of your theories. We'd like to see what else you have.
Send us more.
Thanks, Nacho.
Even if we don't answer it on an episode like this, we will email you back. So please let us know. All right. So our next question comes from Vimal on Instagram. They said, I don't know if y'all have discussed this yet in the start of the podcast or not, but I'd like to know what y'all play on. Laptop, mobile, PlayStation, or whatever. And if you do play on mobile, which phone? Because it takes up a lot of space and processing power, and most phones always end up lagging. I've only played Genshin for years on a laggy phone, and one of my dreams is to buy a new phone that can handle Genshin smoothly and actually see how my playstyle is IRL, other than 3 seconds later.
I play on a PS5. I've tried to install it on my iPad simply to get my daily like welcome moons, but I don't even do that because I find it cumbersome. So I'm PlayStation 5 all the way.
So I play on a PS5, but I also play on PC using my PS5 controller, just depending on if I'm playing in one room or another. But I have tried it. I don't regularly play Genshin on my phone, but I did download it onto my phone so that I could do my dailies while I was on a trip. And that was very difficult when you're not used to playing on your phone. So Vimal, I feel for you that you're limited to your phone and that you're having this lag issue. I will say that when I ran it on my phone, it like performed great. I have a Google Pixel 6a and it worked fine. I mean, I did end up deleting it later just to free up all that space it was taking. That's a good phone for it. I also I don't know if you have this available where you're at, but I really enjoy Google Fi as my cell provider, and they have really good subscription options. So where you just pay a monthly fee and then you get a new phone every 2 years. So something to keep in mind if that's an option for you where you're at.
I play on PlayStation 4, which means I load in very last every time we co-op. I did try originally playing on PC. I was playing on a laptop, but it ran really slow on my laptop. laptop, and I was streaming a lot on Twitch at the time, and I couldn't stream it from my laptop while also running Genshin. It was very frustrating. So then I think Brandon was the one who was like, you can play it on PlayStation, right? And I was like, what? But I have also played on iPad. I actually just got an iPad in like the last few months, and I bring my iPad when I travel now instead of having to lug like my 15-inch like Lenovo laptop with me, and I can hook up my PlayStation controller to the iPad, so it's been really easy and nice to have.
I totally forgot. I played on a Microsoft Surface Pro for a very small amount of time. I was an interior decorator for our friend Eric Teapot. Only until I figured out how to make a profile on my PlayStation 5 for me to just kind of go between his game and mine. I was so afraid I was going to delete something. I was trying it on there, and I do not recommend it. It's a very old one, but it made me nauseous. I tried fighting a little bit in it, but really I was just going into the teapot and gardening and like making furnishings.
Now, did it make you nauseous because it was just like the tablet more so, or did it make you nauseous because of how slow it was loading?
I think it was it was a little slow, but also jerky, if that makes any sense. Like, like it would jerk real quick.
Like the frame rate or something?
Yeah. I mean, I also, for a very long time, though, played Fortnite on it, which now I have no idea how I did. But, I also didn't know that in Fortnite, you can see the blades of grass. That's how bad the the processing is on it. I highly do not recommend.
And Al, what do you play on?
I got me my PC. It was a graduation present from getting my 2 degrees, which very helpful. It's a Next NZXT. I was going to build my own, but at the time, prices for like graphics cards and basically all hardware was insane. So I just kind of went with a pre-build, and I'll add on to it and mess around with it as I get money to play around. But I love it. I used to play on my laptop, and it was the laptop I had since 2015. And even then, It wasn't super bad, but for sure, it runs really, really well on this PC. I've got, I think, a TI 17. No, 7. I've got the third most oldest, I think, graphics card, and I play on pretty good quality graphics. Everything goes pretty smoothly. I've not tried it on my phone. I've not had the greatest luck with it, but I do have a Samsung S22. And really, a lot of it runs very well. When I did try it, or when I tried Dead by Daylight mobile, don't try that. Like, trust me. Like, if you're gonna play Dead by Daylight, at least cringe on PC. But yeah, with phones, it definitely is going to be based on your internet connection as well, with how laggy it can be, because your hardware will get you the most part, and you can always like lower your graphics and do what you can. But that internet connection, without it being directly connected into the internet and you being on Wi-Fi, it can really lag out your game just due to that.
Vimal, I'm sorry that none of us play on our phones, really.
Yes, sorry.
I'm sorry, we're not the most help.
Keep us updated. Send us a picture of your new phone when you get it.
Yes.
Yeah, get the Google Pixel.
Get Google Pixel.
Yeah, and if anybody has any recommendations for Vimal as well, please, either email us or, message us on or reply to us on Instagram or Twitter or something like that. And we'll definitely get the information over.
Yeah, definitely. Thank you, Vimal.
Thank you, Vimal.
Thank you.
Just gonna sing thank you to everybody.
Joke's on you guys, because Vimal had another question. Trixie, welcome back, Vimal.
Welcome back.
I feel like we're Shark Tank right now, and we're like inviting them back into like the room. Come back in. Maybe we'll offer you money. No, we have no money to give Vimal. I'm sorry. So Vimal said, and another Dottore-esque question related to Baiju, but Baiju does have a snake as well, and y'all kept saying that maybe Orobashi is alive and that maybe there's a mini version of Orobashi out there. So maybe Baiju is a duplicate Dottore because tall, doctory, snaky glass boy seems sus. They said it could be an Orobashi worshiper. Could that possibly be Baiju with Orobashi around the neck? Because Baiju's family has like a contract with the neck snake and everything. So maybe some of them were male descendants And Baiju could possibly be a Dottore copy or Urabashi, or both, or worshipping Urabashi. There's a lot out there.
That would be crazy.
I love this.
It would be so crazy. And I'd be here for it.
We are all here for this. Oh my God.
I feel like their stories are a little bit more separate in that regard, but I like how not necessarily like the little cutscenes and stuff like that I don't think that they've given us any kind of inkling to say that they might be some sort of Fatui related stuff in there or even Abyss related. It seems like its own little fairy tale kind of side of things, but that'd be freaking amazing.
There is something to say about, like, when we were looking at the copies of Dottore in our Dottore episode, they all kind of have a mind of their own and they all like do things of their own like free will because they're technically their own person, just with a different set of memories and experiences, which makes them different. So who's to say that one of the copies didn't grow up to be Baiju and is like, you know what? I learned about Urabashi before Inazuma closed down. And actually, this makes sense because my family has this long line promise to this snake.
Yes, and we know there's like a prophecy about Urabashi being reincarnated as a human. So I do like this theory. I think it's really scary. I don't know how sold I am on Baiju being Dottore, but I could see him being either the reincarnation of Urabashi or maybe Changcheng, the snake, is somehow related to Urabashi, or maybe Urabashi was reincarnated and maybe Changcheng used to be a person and got turned into a snake somehow.
Ooh.
It's very scary to think that there could be something afoot with Baiju, especially because I feel so protective of Chi-Chi, and it's a little scary that, maybe he's sort of researching her zombie powers to try to use it for a more nefarious purpose than just extending his own life.
I definitely like the theory that Changcheng is Urabashi, and I think it fits into some other things we've seen in Liyue with like Guoba being the stove god.
Right.
So it's definitely not like we haven't seen someone in Liyue have a cute little friend that's also an ex-god.
Yeah.
Wait, is Xingling from Liyue or is she from Mondstadt?
Liyue.
Oh, why did I put her freaking Mondstadt?
We meet her in Mondstadt.
Oh,
Yeah.
Thank you. I love me some guava.
And who's to say that, not to be like weird and technical, water snakes, they could have just been like, you know what? I've been defeated. I am tiny. I'm gonna swim my way to Liyue.
Even more horrifying, snakes in the water. Any snake in water. Horrifying.
There are some motherfucking snakes in this motherfucking game.
Yeah!
Yes.
And Changyun's a lizard person. Anyway, thank you, Vimal, for your other question.
Thank you.
Thanks, Mom.
Thank you.
All right. This next question is from Angie on Twitter, and they asked, what are each of your predictions for after Snezhnaya is released? Basically, how do you think the game is going to end?
Oh my God.
Albedo becomes real.
He's a real boy.
He
Okay.
walks through the screen, kind of like The Ring. Is that the movie where the girl comes through the TV?
Oh my God.
But he's good, and we run off into the sun together. The end.
Aw.
That's so sweet.
I think what's going to happen is the Fatui, aka the Saritsa, is going to get all of the Nosi. And when that happens, they're going to magnify together to unlock the primordial one. And then they're so pissed off, they're like, I'm setting this whole world on fire. So they do. And then we have to go back to every region and it's desolate.
Ooh.
And that's how we find that there's an eighth element.
Kind of makes me think of Final Fantasy X and how the very start of the game, they have like a small cutscene and you find out you're in like the main city that you're looking for the whole time, but it's like completely destroyed.
Oh.
Xanagar, something like that. So you're like the whole time you're in the game, you're looking for that city and you find out that this tiny little cutscene they show you right away is there and it's like completely destroyed and desolate. And they kind of sit down and they're like, oh, what do we do now?
I think that we're going to fight the Saritsa in the end. Like that's going to be like the final boss battle type of thing. And I don't know if I think that it's because that's going to get our sibling back or just because we're going to save the world. It's really going to come down to the Saritsa. And I don't think we're going to see her for a very long time. I think they're going to really hold on to that piece. And I'm standing with my theory that the Fatui are behind everything.
So I think that we're going to go to Conria and then Celestia. Those will be like additional, realms that we explore after Snezhnaya. And then I think we're going to have to battle Dainsleif at the end. I think that we are in some kind of time loopy cycle, and that fighting Dainsleif will somehow break that and allow us to reunite with our twin. Now, I'm not sure if the twins would leave to that or decide to stay. Just, thinking of like, well, how is the actual end game going to happen? Because I would hope that this has been such a linear story in a way that I would hope that like the narrative course, like the Archon quest lines, actually have a real conclusion and that there is a real ending. Even if they keep doing events in the game, like they keep the game going and they do, regular events, they should still at least give us a real ending. But I would really love also to see that the ending, like the narrative ending of the game, coincides with a new Genshin game that comes out, which I would love for there to be a Genshin MMO RPG where like you create your own character and, you choose which vision you have and, build up your skills and like you're running around and playing online with your friends.
But can we romance NPCs? I just want to romance Wagner. Come on.
I think we're going to be really sad. I agree with B where we're going to end up at Snezhnaya, and then afterwards we're going to have to go to Conria and Celestia. Maybe we'll go to Conria before Snezhnaya. I don't know. I feel like now that Sumeru's kind of dropped, like, here's the door, we might get to Conria a little sooner than I originally expected. I do think that we're going to get to Snezhnaya and find out that we're actually on the same side as the Fatui. They just don't have morals. They don't have like a strong moral compass, basically. And that's why we don't agree with them this entire time. But once we get there, I think we're going to be like, all right, you have the same end game, so let's work together. Let's stop killing rando people. Stop throwing sad puppet boys into the abyss. Let's work together, because a lot of people feel for the Harbingers that we've met, like a lot of fans, and I think they're purposely making them like secretly likable for a reason too. I do think our sibling's gonna die.
Oh,
yeah. I whether we kill our sibling.
You've been killing a lot of people in this.
Yeah,
episode.
let's add it to the list of dead characters.
Every time someone is killed off by Feeny, we drink.
Well, God. I just think that with Dainsleif too, Dainsleif makes it clear that he's our last battle, right? Which makes no sense, because we would think our last battle would be the Saritsa or the Unknown God or the Primordial One or the Second Who Came. Like, we would think it'd be something like that. But Dainsleif says it's him. And there's a part of me that feels like Dainsleif is like a different version of our sibling. Oh. And so in killing Dainsleif, we kill our sibling. Almost like it's Dainsleif knowing that, like, if this makes sense, it's like maybe older siblings. It doesn't make, I guess, as much sense if you play as Ether, but like as someone who plays as Lumine, I think it'd be so cool if Dainsleif is like older Ether who has like time traveled back to try to stop Ether, and that's why he goes on the journey with Ether and tries to stop him, basically, and fails. And now he's trying like a different method with us. I know there's a lot of theories out there that Lumine and Ether are different shades of the same person. So I feel like it could also be Dainsleif like being like, all right, well, walking them and holding their hand didn't work. Let me see if I could get this version of me to do the right thing. So I feel like we'd have to kill our sibling for that to happen. I think I'm going to cry a lot. I'm going to have to call out of work for the end of this game.
After the double murder.
I think a lot of our faves are going to die.
Yeah, like Albedo.
Yeah, I think Albedo, there's a possibility Kaya, Diluc, Sino, a lot of these more powerful characters, they might die.
Everyone's gonna die.
I live in a very rosy world where I'm like, hey, we're just gonna fight the Saritsa and then everything's gonna be great. We saved the world, blah, blah, blah.
No.
I have my rose-colored glasses on over here.
I'm kind of with Tiff. Like, I don't really think there's going to be a lot of death. Like, maybe a character or 3 tops. But I don't think there's going to be like 10 dead characters.
A character or 3.
All the characters.
Thank you, Angie.
Great question, Angie. Thank you.
Thank you, Angie. All right. So our next question does come from Melissa, and they did preface that, with this question, it is the assumption that all characters are adults. But they said, fuck, marry, kill. Your 3 options are Albedo, Fischl and Venti.
Easy. I'm gonna fuck Venti because it's gonna be a one-night drunken stand. I'm gonna kill Albedo because I'm going to try and prevent the apocalypse that Susbedo is doing and just pretend that it's Susbedo. And 3, I'm gonna marry Fischl because who wouldn't want to marry Fischl?
I have the same answers as Al. Like I said, I would fuck Venti because he's wild in bed. Like that's going to be a good time. And then I would marry Fischl and get half of her kingdom.
Her kingdom of cold cuts?
Yes.
Also, with Fischl, like she's so delusional that it's not like I would have to have sex with her as a gay man. Like I would be fine with just having a contractual marriage where like we don't have to do anything physical. And
It's
then also I'm hoping that I could get to like go with Fischl like when she visits other worlds.
Oh, since she's in Honkai.
And then I would kill Albedo because, he's just chalk.
No.
But I would grind him up into chalk dust and then lovingly snort him. I just want you to know that, Feeny.
I wish that
You're
guys
gonna get
could
high
see
on
my
Albedo.
face. No.
Well, I know who wouldn't marry Fischl. Me. I would fuck Fischl because she's loopy and but I don't think I could marry her. I don't think I could deal with that all the time. But I would marry Venti just because at least I know if I don't feel like hanging out with him, he's just going to go to the bar by himself anyway. So, just, we can do our own thing. I very much did not like the fact that I had to kill Albedo, and it's only because I'm being forced to give an answer.
Wow, that's what you're saying, Tiff.
Yeah, well, it is. I don't want to kill Albedo.
I mean, no one wants to kill him.
Yeah, I don't want to kill him either.
I wanted to kill him more than I would want to kill Fischl or Venti. So
we should be killing him with kindness, guys. God.
I mean, it's a kindness because of Susbedo.
When I thought I could pick my own characters, Goru was my kill. So
God damn it. Poor Goru.
So for me, obviously I'm marrying Albedo. We would live a very nice, prosperous, happy life together. I would learn alchemy. All would be great. I'm gonna fuck Venti. I think that he'd be fun. One night stand, be great. Fischl, I'm gonna kill. She's too delusional for me. I don't know how long I could put up with that. But thank you, Melissa.
Thanks, Melissa.
Melissa.
Thank you, Melissa. Did we all choose to fuck Venti? No, we all chose to marry him.
No.
Not B.
We all chose for Venti to live.
Wow. Yeah, because you all chose for Albedo to die except for me.
Look, it could be Susbedo. We can't take
No. The question was Albedo, not the other. Anyway, this question came anonymously from Instagram. They wanted to stay anonymous. Obviously, I know who they are. What are each of your preferred weapon types, and do you find that you gravitate to a type of weapon? I love swords. I 100% gravitate to a sword. I would say second place for me is a mixture between claymore and bow. I don't think I could pick between the two. I like how quick a sword is. I also love how pretty the swords are, and I would like to be a sword user. So my answer is sword.
I gravitate toward polearms. It just naturally happened that way, that I just like the fighting style, and I like polearms that look like fish. I.e. the catch. Any reason for me to fish in this game. I also really like the charged attacks that you get with polearm, but I try to have a very equal team. So this way I have, I guess my equal team is not usually very equal because it's usually always Catalyst, polearm, and Claymore.
Wow. Lying to us.
Look at that. Me and the bows and the swords. Poof, I bring them when I gotta.
Yeah, when you gotta. I will say I'm kind of like a mix between you both. I love swords and I enjoy polearms, and it's because of the speed. I am your clicking master. I mash buttons. I have no routine. I just click. So anytime I have a claymore and I have to really think, like I'm very good with Ito because I know his 1, 2, 3, 4, bam, and when to throw out Ushi. And I'm not the biggest fan of bows unless it's just an auto click DPS. So swords and polearms are probably the fastest in attacking for me. And I enjoy that because it just reminds me of The Witcher, why I keep comparing the combat of The Witcher to Genshin. It's just because I want Geralt in Genshin. I want there to be another collab, and I want either him or Ciri to be part of this game so I can be a fucking Witcher and also have Jean in my party, who's also a sword. Like, a lot of my favorites are swords.
Well, I hope they do that for you, but I hope that they take the Genshin player character and take them to you, because Alloy was enough.
Excuse me.
Damn.
She doesn't fit in this world.
Tiff's like, take your character and shove it where the sun don't shine.
Damn.
So I think polearms are the prettiest weapon type, but I like the idea of catalysts the most. Like, I just think that's sort of the coolest weapon type, is to be able to just channel magic. But I have to say that in terms of the combat and the gameplay that I like the most, it would have to be sword. I mean, I am a Kazuha / Ayaka main, so I like that quick deadly slash, like cutting straight to it, like getting rid of that enemy as quickly as possible. So gravitate towards swords, but I wish I was a catalyst person.
Yeah, I get that. Catalysts are hard. Kind of like bows, they don't point necessarily. And I'm like, ugh,
Right.
just attack the thing. I'm like, why are you attacking the butterfly?
There have been many times where I've been playing as Ningguang and I'm fighting Helichurls. Where are my attacks going? To the fucking minerals and rocks to the other side of them.
A torch.
Yeah, if there's one thing, Genshin, if you're listening, if there's one thing that they could fix right now, it would absolutely be the aiming mechanic of catalysts. Because, like, I want to be able to auto-click and, like, keep clicking, because, like, sometimes that's really great for certain catalyst characters. Sometimes they're better for charged, but I need to know where I'm aiming.
Yeah.
I want to know. I want to prioritize. Like, let me have more control of it. Because at this point, it's just lackadaisical.
All right. Well, thank you to our anonymous user.
Thank you, Anonymous.
Thank you, anonymous Instagram user.
Our next question comes from Vanessa, and they want to know, what's your favorite thing about doing the Tales of Teyvat podcast?
I would say that at first, like, the biggest thing was just, getting to laugh with friends and knowing that, all these crazy theories and things that we always talk about when we're playing together, that we get to do it in a way where we're sharing it with everybody and the ridiculousness of us. But I would say, like, now that we've been doing it for a while and really hearing some things that people have messaged us, whether they're fans of that have been listening, new people who have just come across us, or even some of the artists that we spotlight on our website, it's just been really great to hear the positive feedback and knowing that there's some people who don't have a group of ridiculous friends to play with, and so they can play with us. So it's just very rewarding and makes me happy.
Yeah, mine is hanging out with y'all.
Aw.
Aww.
But I also like that it sort of forces me to learn a lot about the game, because I think this game is really rewarding in that the more you learn about the lore, the little tidbits that you see actually do tend to have a payoff. Sometimes it's very subtle and you're like, wow, if I didn't know X, Y, and Z about that character, I wouldn't even have caught that. But it is very rich world that they've built. I do think it's really rewarding to learn a lot about the lore. And it also gives you, like, doing all this research and, like, figuring out the lore and, like, having our theories and confirming certain things. It gives, like, a weird puzzle solving satisfaction where it's sort of satisfying that, like, puzzle craving. Like, I remember when we figured out that the goddess of flowers was a Seelie and that the Seelies were the divine envoys, it was like all of that clicking felt really good.
Yeah, like we had just discovered something in history.
Right.
I mean, it is kind of just being able to be with you guys. I know my life is crazy as shit and everyone's busy with work, and there are days where I'm either too tired or too stuck with stuff that I can't even come on and play Genshin for more than just my dailies. So having the podcast is like, I've got a guaranteed day to spend with friends.
No.
Yeah.
I mean, for me, it's definitely echoing what y'all all just said, but I think it's also such a passion project. And I see that from everyone on the team too. It really gives us an opportunity, especially me, like I work in marketing in the real world outside of Teyvat. I work in marketing, and sometimes when you work a job like that, you're kind of stuck in the status quo of what you do and you don't get to have fun. And to have a passion project like this that allows me not only to hang out with my friends, not only to do something that's a little off the cuff I mean, we do a podcast about a video game's history, but also to run social media platforms and make content around something that I really enjoy with people I enjoy and getting to interact with the community. We talk with fans of the game, artists. We've had a little conversation every now and then with voice actors. Like, we really get to be involved, and I think it's taught me a lot about even being myself and not being afraid to talk about Genshin in my daily life. I'm sure there are many people in my life who still don't understand what it is, but they're hearing a lot about it. So it's just really nice to have something like this.
Let's all hold hands.
Kumbaya.
Thanks for the question, Vanessa.
Thanks, Vanessa.
Thank you, Vanessa.
Yes, thank you for the question, Vanessa. And Vanessa, thank you for closing out this very special episode of Tales of Teyvat, our mailbag episode. If you like this episode, please feel free to follow us on Instagram, Tales of Teyvat Pod, or on Twitter, Tales of Teyvat. You can also email us at talesofteyvatpod@gmail.com to let us know what you think of our answers. Are you a Catalyst user that now dislikes us because we don't use catalysts? Let us know. We'd love to hear about it. And also, if you have some extra thoughts based on lores and tidbits we talked about today, we'd love to hear it. Otherwise, travelers, safe journeys. We'll see you next time.
Bye, postal nerds.